Yeah, 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 yeah. I run my fingers through her hair as she smiles and says that she loves me. Isn't it lovely when the one you love thing is the one you're loving?
Things that have never been done, and that makes people uncomfortable. When you see a confident black man sitting up here talking his talk, walking his walk, coaching 75% African Americans in the locker room, that's kind of threatening. Oh, they don't like that. But guess what? We're going to consistently do what we do because I'm here and ain't going nowhere. And I'm about to get comfortable in a minute. I'm about to get comfortable in a minute.
Get comfortable. That was Deion Sanders. This weekend, 45-42 victory over a team that was in the national championship last year. I didn't even just say they were ranked. They were ranked number 2 in the nation. TCU, who lost to Georgia, who is now ranked number 1 still. Georgia's still the number 1 team in the country. But Colorado, Deion Sanders' team, has cracked the top 25 after last year winning an entire one game. They were 1-11 last year. And they are on their way. We're here with Dante Stewart. Dante is an author. He's also just got his theological seminary degree as well. And he played cornerback at Clemson for a couple of 3 years. And so he knows a little bit about this college space, this college football space, something that I've never really leaned into. But I'm going to be watching this year with great interest. We were talking off mic. Let me just give you some stats. Shedeur Sanders, who was the quarterback at Jackson State last year, threw for 510 yards, a record, a Colorado record, 510 yards. See, so y'all thought the inferior talent was last year. He threw for 510 yards. He had 4 touchdowns as well. Of course, his brother also, I think he's a graduate transfer. So he graduated, but he's able to play because I think he was eligible, which is wild. He's 23. He is on the defensive line. He's a linebacker. I think he had 10 tackles, which is crazy. 9 were solo. That's quite a thing. Marvin Ham also had a game high, 10 tackles. Travis Hunter, I'm sure he's my cousin. 11 catches, 119 yards. 1 red zone interception as well. And the tailback carried 5 times for 135 yards and 3 touchdowns. This was Dante. Walk us through this.
Yeah, that game. I mean, the game was magical. Like, it literally was everything you live for when it comes to like college football. And like, as a former athlete, we kind of watch the game a little bit different. Like, for example, like we pay attention to like how magical the play that Travis Hunter and his red zone interception was. Like, people just saw like, oh goodness, like he intercepted, the ball, from the TCU quarterback. But the magical thing about that was literally for him at that moment, in that particular time as a cornerback, to be able to read that quickly, to come off the crossing number 1 receiver, to pick up the new number 1, and to have the football IQ to know that if that receiver is coming across and that running back coming out the backfield, like to literally get off that receiver, pass it to the linebacker, and to come back and to pick it out, it was absolutely magical. Like, literally, I was listening to Coach Prime, talk to his kids, and he was like, yo, we left a lot out there, but like we did a doggone good job. And I think like that game to start off the year of college football with millions of people watching, I'm interested to see what was the viewership, because I know the viewership, was absolutely crazy, because Coach Prime and even like his other son, his younger son, who does like the marketing at Colorado, they have done a spectacular job of utilizing the power of social media to change the game when it comes to like college sports and culture. And everybody, as this article said, looked like everybody having fun. And I think that was the thing about like the game, is that like from the beginning to the end, there was no point at which those players on Colorado's team did not get Deion's audacity rubbed off on them. They believed that they were going to go into TCU and win, and they did everything they needed to do to execute and to win that game in the most magical, beautiful way.
this is and again, for them to break into the rankings after winning one game last year, they don't got to do nothing else. I mean, but they do have to keep winning because now there's but people forget Deion Sanders was drafted by the New York Yankees. I know because I was covering them at the time for the New York Daily News. I did one of the first interviews with him when he was in the locker room and he had all of them gold chains and a Jerry curl. And I never forget it because, he was front page material then as a Yankee. Then his football career, Hall of Fame, legendary football career. On top of that, it was just Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson. And, that was it, in terms of the best athletes. So you think about this man now being able to be a coach. And there is something to be said. I'm watching Winning Time on Max. And, Westhead and Riley, Magic had a problem with a man coming in as a school teacher, not a problem, but coming in, never understanding what it's like to be on the court. And it begs a question, can a person truly coach you if they don't know what you're going through, if they don't even see you as human, but you're just a commodity on the field? I feel like there's so many different things. As an athlete at Clemson, and now as somebody writing about it, because you're writing for ESPN, you're writing for other outlets, what is the responsibility of us, those of us who watch this, to consume this, for those kids, those young people on the field? What's our responsibility, Dante?
Oh, that's actually an excellent question. I think our responsibility is to cheer them on for whatever they're wanting in this life. Because for so many of the kids that walk into these halls that they walk into, we carry so much. There's so much pressure to perform. There's so much pressure to be something different than where we came from. So you oftentimes hear this all the time, especially for Black boys in the South. It's like, there ain't nothing here for you. Don't come back here. Go out and do, go out and do your thing. There's nothing back here for you. And so that's a lot of pressure for a young 18-year-old to carry in an environment oftentimes that your environment, the rigor and things like that of the college, the university, you ain't really getting the rigor of that joint, and so it's you're walking in with a limitation and you have to figure out a way how to find the grit to make something happen of the limited time that you have, because to be good at this thing, you have such a small margin to do a great thing well, especially as a young Black kid coming from many of the places that we come from. You got such a small margin. And I think that we as people, especially watching, I know people say I don't want to watch this or that. And a lot of people, the question I get more than any question is this: after you play football, two questions I get: do you watch football? Do you still support it after CTE and all the stuff's coming out about concussions? You see things that happen with Damar Hamlin. You see all these injuries. You see all this thing happen. And then the second question is will you let your son play? And I think our responsibility to these kids is the same thing. My responsibility to my son. It's if he wants to play ball, I don't ever want to cut him off from an opportunity from something that will make him better, a better human being, a more compassionate person, a more kind person, somebody who finds some grit about them and teaches them discipline and teaches them that they come from something and they belong somewhere. So I don't ever want to cut him off from that. And the second part that we need to be for these athletes is we need to fight for them and also be a safe place for them to land. Because when you go on that level to play ball, I talk to my teammates over and over again. When you play football, especially on the level that we have to play, there's a fine line between mental intensity and mania. To play the way we have to play, you have to tap into something that is not normal as a human being. If you want to make it in this thing, you got to be a dog. It's real. You got to find a way to tap into something that most people don't have. And then it abruptly ends. And so many of us, when we leave the sport, however we leave it, whether it's by choice or by force or your body can't take it no more, that leaving is abrupt. And when dudes leave or young women leave or persons leave their respective sports in their game, we have to be a soft place for them to land, because it's tough out here and cats ain't really making it. And so while they're there, we need to tell them, we need to support them, show up for them, be there for them, let them experience as much joy as possible. And then when it's time to hang it up, Like, be there for them to make that transition so that transition don't ruin them.
I appreciate that, because I think it was a horrible stat. 3/4 of NFL players are broke 3 to 5 years after they finish playing. And we want to excoriate them for, not taking care of their money, but we're still talking about young people, in their early 20s, maybe getting multi-million-dollar contracts when their brain isn't fully formed and being rocked at the same time, and not maybe having the infrastructure, and maybe coming from a place where nobody could ever see that kind of money. So they're going to try to take care of everybody. And then your career is over in 3 to 5 years, because, especially if you're a running back, you're not playing a long time. You're not playing 10, 12 years unless you're Ronnie Lott. You're not getting those years in, and not everyone could be a Shannon Sharp afterwards, right? So most of these people who played football at a high level are usually, now they got the rest of their lives in their early 30s, and that's all the money they're ever going to really make unless they had, a good team around them. So, Dante, you were able to pivot into some spaces, but I talked about the plantation. Coupled with that, then you have people like, Herschel Walker. There's so many. Herschel is not unusual coming out of football, because there's almost a gratitude to the white savior.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I think, I was that way. I'll never forget. I actually write about this in the ESPN piece I was telling you about. Like in 2012, when Trayvon Martin was murdered. And, one of the things about young Black dudes going into these white collar spaces, one of the things we really don't want to be is the D word, a distraction. Because to be a distraction in the eyes of white, like, power structures in college sports, and I want to be very clear, I'm not seeming as if like race is everything, but race accounts for something, and a very powerful something, when we step onto these fields and into these universities, whether we are coaching or whether we're athletes. We enter that space as Black people who are expected not to be Black, who are just expected to be Clemson football players, Florida State football players, whatever. And like, for me, that was a big thing, is that like, yo, you put your head down, you play ball, you do your thing. And so when it came to Trayvon, at Clemson, we had dudes that got in Black hoodies and took a picture in solidarity. But for me, I felt like in order for me, to make it and keep my head down, I couldn't be a distraction. And, in college sports, there's, especially before the George Floyd moment and all these kind of performative, like kind of things that college sports did. We remember that moment in 2020 where all these teams put like Black Lives Matter on the back of their helmets. And now 3 years later, you never see like a Black Lives Matter thing or anything representative of any issues dealing with Black people. Before that George Floyd moment, that Breonna Taylor moment, that Ahmaud Arbery moment, race, to be Black and to be overtly Black, we saw it in Colin Kaepernick. Like, that was not something that was smiled upon. That was something that was frowned upon. And so someone like Herschel Walker, is very prevalent, especially when you're talking about, if you can get the acceptance and the praise and the power and of white people in this space, it can really do something for you materially. And what it doesn't do for you, what it also does for you immaterially is it ruins your psyche, it ruins your soul, it turns you into something that's almost like a nothing. And we see it in Herschel Walker and beyond. And it's very prevalent because college sports is, the social environment is generated like that. We're socialized to be Clemson football players first, Florida State football players first, Duke football players first, rather than Black human beings who are here to be fully who we are, who are here to play. So it makes sense that someone like Herschel Walker become that, because Blackness doesn't bring him any benefit.
Now, you better. Dante Stewart is here. The number is 866-801-8255. Let's talk to the people. They've been holding on. Ali called back in DC, and he's here wanting to talk about this now, and we could talk about this and that. Hey, Ali, welcome. Thank you for holding.
Well, how you doing, Professor Hunter? How you doing? Is it Deontay?
Dante Stewart. Dante Stewart, yeah.
My fault, Dante. I'm a different Ali, Karen. I don't know which one called back, but I'm a different Ali. I'm not from Philly.
Oh,
but,
okay.
Hey, I just wanted to point out what Shamar Sanders' son.
Who, Shador or Shiloh?
Shador.
Yes, two.
Shador, the quarterback.
Shador.
Deion Sanders' son. The Shador had said I guess it was after he finished scoring. I mean, after the game and everything, and they asked him I guess the post conflict, and he said, you know what? He said, I did all of this, and he said, I came from a HBCU. He said, I played at a HBCU last year. Basically shouting out to HBCU, like, I wasn't able to put these numbers up at the HBCU, but yet I was able to do it all here. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah.
I found that like interesting that he was able to point that out.
Yep. Actually, we got 866-801-8255. I've actually found that. We'll play it maybe in the next hour. But yeah, like he couldn't put these numbers up. 500 yards, broke a school record. You know, he never passed for 510 yards in all of these touchdowns. And let me just say also the running back had another touchdown. I think he caught 5 balls. The wide receiver, tailback, actually caught 5 balls and then scored again on the ground. And he was going to go to Notre Dame, but he followed Deion Sanders. So there we go. 866-801-8255. Donovan in Texas, TCU backyard. Hey.
What's going on, Karen? What's going on? Man, I forget the guest name. I apologize for that.
Dante.
Stewart. Dante Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Yeah, man. Listen. I'm conflicted, Karen. I am so conflicted. I'm a Deion Sanders fan. I love what the attention that he brought onto HBCUs and to the SWAC. I'm happy for the success that they're having in Colorado, but Karen, he's still showing that for some odd reason we still believe the white man's ice is colder. You know, up until the late 60s and 70s, where were all these black athletes going to play basketball and football? They were going to HBCU. HBCUs were producing the best talent on this earth. And then all of a sudden, we started to leave and we started integrating and going to these major universities. And now, you know, if Deion was able to get those 86 players that followed him to Colorado, to Jackson State, get that television revenue, that would have boosted Jackson State, that would have boosted the SWAC, and that would have boosted competition in the SWAC. It would have taken a little bit of time, but man, I everything that he's doing in that he's doing in Colorado, he was doing at Jackson State, and I just feel like, man, he should have kept that going. Of course, man, I can't tell him what he should or shouldn't do. It's just I'm an HBCU product of the Texas Southern University, and going to the Jackson State TSU game, and that's something going to be sold out, and just looking at the attention that he brought to the SWAC, man, my heart was so excited. And that's why I'm conflicted right now, Karen.
I felt that, you know, I went on a rant, you know, for days about that, you know, and the sellout of it all, you know, but 2 things can be true. And I feel like in this moment, it has happened now. He took that 5-year, $29.5 million that he was never getting from Jackson. There were other mitigating, you know, circumstances that I felt Deion Sanders could have handled differently with the administration and, you know, some of the facilities and things that he was talking about, you know. I didn't like how he did it. You know, I felt like Jackson deserved, you know, it was before their final game. You know, I felt like they deserved more respect than that. At the same time, this is a groundbreaking moment. And so we have to be able to be nimble enough to understand, yes, I agree with you. Deion Sanders, in my opinion, could have done so much more had he stayed at Jackson, but he didn't. So we're going to be in this moment right now and celebrate the breaking of the myth of superiority of a particular kind of phenotypical coach. That myth has been broken. And now the NFL must come to reckoning as well, because apparently black men can coach, Dante. Apparently black men can coach.
Oh, facts.
And win.
I run my fingers through her hair as she smiles and says that she loves me. Isn't it lovely when the one you're lusting is the one